This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel this afternoon. And let me tell you, well, you know what? Things are starting to change a little bit in Oilers land here. I always like to try and gauge my video topics a little bit based off of what I'm seeing in my comments section. And you guys know with 7,500 now plus of you guys tuning in on a regular basis to give me your opinions, your thoughts on what I've said, but also what the Oilers are doing, that means we've got a lot to usually talk about. And if I don't, I'm either dead after a day of work or I have no excuse and I can't come up with one right now because literally I have no excuse and I'm just being lazy. That said, ladies and gentlemen, what we can't be lazy about now is the simple fact that the trade deadline, ooh, yes sirree, is a week away, and we got to figure out what are these Edmonton Oilers doing. And we've discussed it several times already this month, and I promised you we'd pretty much have one every off day. So well, let's keep as close to that tradition as possible here and discuss the trade deadline again today. That said, if you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button because we've crossed 7,500 as mentioned right off the top. Now we're gunning for 8,000 Oilers fans strong here on Dolynny TV. And if you can also let me know. You don't have to necessarily leave a like. You can leave a dislike too if you don't like anything I'm saying. But that said, what am I going to be saying? That is the question. What I'm going to be saying is, back to that comment section comment, right? Is generally the opinion all year has been the Oilers need to do this. The Oilers need to trade for this guy. The Oilers need to trade. And all of a sudden, what would I say? Probably past 3 or 4 days, I really haven't seen that out of the comment section here on Dolynny TV. And that's an interesting point because you'd imagine when you're 8, 9, 10 days away from the trade deadline, I'd be seeing that every hour on the hour, a new comment popping up saying, oh man, this guy's available, we need to trade for him, or oh my goodness, how can the Oilers afford to keep playing like this, they need to trade for this guy. But suddenly, ladies and gentlemen, after a back-to-back 2 p.m. Mountain Standard starts on the East Coast, the Edmonton Oilers are back in first place in the Pacific Division. Okay, well, generally speaking, when you're in first place in the Pacific Division, yeah, you're usually talking about buying at the deadline, right? And I mean, to a degree, the Oilers do have the pieces to do it, right? As the farm system looks strong, the roster's honestly 90% solidified for next year, so picks can almost go the wayside and be used in a trade at this point. I know Ken Holland's mentioned he's really not in favor of doing that, and that's fair, that's fine. But you've got a Jesse Puljujarvi, you've got a couple of young guys on the farm that, depending on how you want to do it, you could move if you get the right piece with a contract left for next year, the year after, whatever. Now, yes, I've heard Dylan Strome floated. I don't remember, I just saw quickly in my scrolls on Twitter that I saw Dylan Strome being floated. But the simple fact, right, is there's a lot of, or Dylan Strome, Ryan Strome, our former Strome. My goodness, guys, how could I forget that? That said, right, as I've seen a lot floated the past few days, but the appetite for a move, that's the word I'd be looking for. The appetite for a move by the Edmonton Oilers in the past 3 days has kind of gone like this. And that's a really interesting thing because, right, is, yeah, sure, we won 2 games, we're back in the first place in the Pacific, but we're that much closer to the deadline, and the appetite seems to be going down. Why is that? That's honestly my question, but I think the comments section here on Dolynny TV has done a beautiful job summing up why that is, and why, to a degree, I'm believing it could be as well. Is it simply put, ladies and gentlemen, this Oilers team is winning without Connor McDavid. Now, you want a trade deadline acquisition that tops anybody else's trade deadline acquisition. Connor McDavid. Simply put, end of the day, right? If we get Connor McDavid back after February 25th, 26th, that is the best trade deadline acquisition any team can get. And if we can still be within that first or second spot, because it's going to change a little bit here. We have today off, tomorrow off, and then we play Boston on Wednesday. But if things are going to change it a little bit at all, right, is simply put, the best deadline acquisition the Edmonton Oilers can have, is a healthy Connor McDavid. And, okay, that sounds weird because, yes, we should still be adding even if we have Connor McDavid. Here's the thing. If we're winning without Connor McDavid, if we're doing what we've done against Florida and Carolina night in, night out with Connor McDavid, ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute laughingstock of how the rest of the season would go in terms of how good the Oilers would be. That's the crazy part. And oh, goodness sakes, what? How is that possible, right? Usually the Oilers are still pretty good, pretty decent with Connor McDavid, but they're not laughing their way to the bank 2 points every night. Well, here's the thing, is in the past history of the Edmonton Oilers with Connor McDavid, is it almost seems there's a hesitancy. Hesitance? I don't know what the word, you know what I'm trying to get at. And I'm terrible with English and I'm not fancy with big words. There's some I know, some I don't. But the other Oilers are a little bit hesitant to play their best hockey because Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl pick up the team when the team isn't going. Well, all of a sudden, you've got Connor McDavid out of the lineup, and you've got 4 lines doing exactly what they need to do every single shift. And now couple that with the fact that you get your entire top line back here February 25th, 26th, somewhere in there, depending on what James Neal is doing, because Zach Kassian's suspension should be up by then. Well, you look at that, right, is you got an entire top line back, and the thing is, what the Oilers have never really had before is a competitive, legitimate second line. It may be our top line right now, and it may be doing top line NHL production numbers right now, but you imagine you add on a top line in Connor McDavid, which adds 2 threats, right? You've got 2 incredible threats. Yeah, you can say what James Neal doesn't do 5-on-5. You can say whatever you want about Zach Kassian at this point. The skate kick kind of puts a black mark on him for sure. But you can kind of see, right, is up the middle, Connor McDavid on a line by himself. At the end of the day, bang, bang. That's a threat all in and of itself. And then you have the second line on this Oilers team that's playing as a top line right now with Connor McDavid in the top line out. Goodness sakes, ladies and gentlemen. She is a threat. So where does that leave us? That leaves us with the bottom 6, which you look at how it's going right now, right? Yeah, take out Marcus Granlund because he's not here full-time this year. That's probably not going to be the case unless for some reason they waive Patrick Russell at the end of the day. That doesn't make sense due to cap space, but we'll talk more about that as the deadline approaches in case they trade Marcus Granlund. But you look, right? Haas, pretty good hockey player, pretty good depth forward, and realistically can be 13th, 14th forward or on your 4th line any given night. Sheehan, Archibald, deadly. They're playing on our 2nd line right now. They are fantastic hockey players. We've already talked about them today. Joakim Nygard comes back from injury. If he gets in soon enough, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's fantastic. He's the speed element, right? Same thing as Connor McDavid, except for just on a completely different line. You stick him with Sheehan, Archibald, woo! Deadly. Woo! Let's go. But then you've got the 4th line. Chase on. He's here. He's here to stay. It's just kind of the way it is, and we signed him to that contract for a reason. But he's an effective power play player. He's always around the net, and the one thing he's starting to do better of as of late is drive the puck deep. Okay, he drives the puck deep. Then you've got, well, on the left wing, Jujhar Khaira, looking like he might be traded at the deadline, but all of a sudden he's back to throwing hands. He's back to, and you can say whatever you want about him getting it handed to him in Florida. At the end of the day, look at how that game ended up, right? The Oilers took that and they said, hey, Jujhar's saying we got to win this game. I'm throwing hands to prove that. Well, guess what? The Oilers took that, ran with it, and got the job done. Well, right there, right? Is okay. All right. That's a good way. You know what? Pick up your teammate that gets beat down. And that's the thing. Everybody thinks only a win in a fight's going to light you up. Well, guess what? A loss in a fight can light you up just as much as a win, depending on how you take it and how you use it as motivation. And that comes down to coaching at the end of the day as well a little bit. But okay, I've reviewed that all. The back end is what it is. Think about this. We've been without Chris Russell for quite a few games now. And the Oilers have done a 4-1-0 stretch in their last 5 and have won quite a few games. Yes, they lost those first few after coming out of Calgary, but what are you going to do, right? A big game. I had San Jose written off as a loss. Arizona, a disappointing one. That would really be a difference maker right now for us, but you just keep going and you keep trying to get wins. You can't get wins that are losses back, right? At the end of the day. So, the defense, surviving without Chris Russell. You've got Steady Eddie William Legason as your 7th defenseman. that's about really the only big roster move the Oilers can make with the trade deadline approaching is moving Chris Russell in a $4 million cap hit. But let's just kind of review everything else I've said. I like this team. I like this Edmonton Oilers team. I like what they do. I like what they bring. I like what they've done. And I like where they're going. And I see no reason to make that change. And let's get back to that comment section comment I had at the start of this. Alright, that's where it all leads back to, is simply put in the comment section here on Dolynny TV. Since about Friday, what I have seen consistently out of any type of comment is when it comes to the trade deadline, everyone's saying, actually, there might be no reason to make a move at the deadline because of what we've got going on. We've got chemistry that has been totally not seen in Oilers land in a lot of years, right? Absolutely something the Oilers fans haven't seen out of a team in years. You can probably talk a little bit about that 16-17 team having a little bit of swagger in their step like our team's starting all of a sudden get. But guys, our team, the reason I love our team so much is the more you doubt this group of guys, this group of, I guess, with Granlund and Yurko and everybody that's been in here at times this year, probably call it about a group of 28 players. The group of 28 players we have used at some point this year, that's just a rough estimate. It could be like 30 or it could be like 26. But the group of guys we have used at some point this year have been absolutely fantastic every time somebody doubts them. And you know what? Realistically, at the end of the day, I'm going to take the underdog 10 out of 10. Right? As you think about everybody, yeah, St. Louis was a good team going into the playoffs last year, coming back and getting back into the playoff picture after being the worst team. They were just underachieving. You can throw whatever excuse you want for St. Louis to be where they were entering the playoffs last year and then winning the cup. At the end of the day, St. Louis was still an underdog. Columbus was an underdog against Tampa Bay. You need more examples. At the end of the day, take it. But what I love is the underdog, and I cannot wait to see if, say, the Oilers don't make a trade deadline move, at this point, this is February 17th. Now, this could change by the end of the Boston game, let me quite be honest with you. But right now, where it sits, right as we talk, at noon on February 17th, I'm very comfortable with this group moving forward. Guys, we're performing this way without our top line. Imagine where we'll be when we get that top line back. That's the best deadline acquisition the Oilers can make, is a healthy Connor McDavid. The chemistry is unreal. Things have come together this month, and I'm really looking forward to where this Oilers team is trending. And at the end of the day, I've taken 13 minutes of your time. How about I tell you this? We're a whole 24 points away from where I predicted this Oilers team will make the playoffs at 94 points, ladies and gentlemen. 94 points. Well, let me tell you what that does. 94 points is only 12 more wins. Count them, count them, count them. I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Zap. I will catch you, as always, in the next one.